In the deepest, most secluded chambers of long-forgotten temples, where shadows perform an intricate ballet on walls etched with the secrets of antiquity, lies a truth of such profound magnitude that entire empires have crumbled in their desperate attempts to suppress it. This is no mere historical footnote, no dry academic curiosity relegated to dusty archives. Instead, it exists as a vibrant, living frequency, a resonating pulse that permeates the very fabric of time, patiently awaiting recognition from those kindred spirits whose souls instinctively vibrate in harmony with its ancient call. This is not a chronicle of bloodlines meticulously traced through the annals of royal ancestry, nor is it concerned with the fleeting, often illusory claims to earthly thrones. This narrative delves into a lineage of consciousness, a vibrational inheritance that utterly transcends the limitations of the physical vessel. It is a potent seed that awakens within the chosen few who carry its dormant, encoded essence. The dragon, a symbol of immense power and wisdom, does not announce its arrival with earth-shattering fire and untamed fury. Rather, it reveals itself through the quiet, unmistakable whisper of recognition that echoes deep within your soul, a moment of profound knowing. It is when you encounter a truth that your conscious mind has long forgotten, yet your spirit has always innately understood. These words are gleaned from a recently unearthed manuscript, attributed to the enigmatic Assani community, discovered near the ancient caves of Qumran in 1954. Its peculiar absence from official catalogs raises intriguing questions, hinting at the deliberate suppression of its powerful message. For the true inheritance, the legacy of ultimate importance, was never one of mere flesh and blood, of genetics and earthly possessions. Instead, it is the sacred flame, the spark of divine understanding passed not through the womb, but through the awakened third eye of the initiate, the gateway to higher perception. Further illumination comes from a fragment of the suppressed Gospel of Mary Magdalene, meticulously preserved in Coptic translation. These ancient texts reveal a profound connection. What lies dormant, sleeping within the very blood of the earth, awaits its awakening in the blood of the dedicated seeker. The serpent, a symbol often misunderstood, does not rise within those who merely claim the crown through force or lineage, but within those who possess the humility and wisdom to recognize the kingdom that resides within their own being. A compelling inscription, etched upon a time-worn stone tablet, was discovered beneath the foundations of a Templar commandery in the sun-drenched landscapes of southern France. This inscription serves as a powerful invitation. Tonight, we embark on a journey far beyond the carefully constructed facades of historical manipulations, venturing past the sanitized narratives peddled by orthodox institutions. We descend into a realm where Mary Magdalene emerges not simply as a misunderstood biblical figure, unjustly maligned by centuries of patriarchal interpretations, but as the true guardian of an ancient vibrational lineage, a lineage of immense spiritual power. Known through the swirling mists of time as the dragon lineage, this potent spiritual current has flowed silently, yet persistently, beneath the turbulent surface of recorded history, manifesting in diverse guises across numerous civilizations and epochs. Consider the uraeus serpent of the ancient Egyptian mystery schools, a symbol of divine authority and awakened consciousness. Reflect on the Pendragon lineage of Celtic wisdom keepers, the keepers of ancient lore and the guardians of the sacred flame. Ponder the Kundalini of Eastern adepts, the serpent power coiled at the base of the spine, awaiting its ascent to enlightenment. And contemplate the Sophia of Gnostic revelation, the embodiment of divine wisdom and the path to spiritual liberation. This transmission is not merely a history lesson, a recounting of events that transpired 2 millennia ago. Its significance lies in what is actively awakening now, in this very moment, as humanity teeters on the precipice of a consciousness revolution, a paradigm shift that will redefine our understanding of reality. For the unique frequency, the vibrational essence that was so powerfully carried by Mary Magdalene and those who preceded and followed her, is stirring once more within the collective unconscious, sending out a clarion call to those whose souls recognize its resonance across the vast expanse of time. You may have already felt its subtle yet persistent nudges, in inexplicable dreams of majestic ancient temples, in synchronicities that defy rational explanation, those meaningful coincidences that seem to orchestrate themselves, in the strange, almost unsettling sense of familiarity you experience when encountering certain symbols or sounds, or in the profound, unshakable knowing that arises within you when you stand in places where the veil between worlds grows thin, where the spiritual and the material intersect. The dragon lineage is returning not through grand proclamations of hereditary superiority or through grasping claims to material power and dominance. Instead, its resurgence is occurring through the quiet, yet powerful awakening of consciousness within seemingly ordinary individuals scattered across the globe, individuals who share nothing in common except the unmistakable, soul-stirring call they feel deep within. This is not a lineage defined by blood, but by spirit. Not by DNA, but by remembrance. Not by inheritance, but by profound recognition. As we meticulously peel back the layers of distortion that have accumulated over centuries of misinterpretation and deliberate obfuscation, we will uncover the ingenious methods by which this vibrational current, this vital spiritual memory, was protected, encoded, and transmitted through the darkest periods of suppression and persecution. We will explore the telltale symptoms of awakening that may indicate your own connection to this ancient lineage of light, signs that your soul is resonating with this powerful frequency. And finally, we will contemplate the far-reaching implications of this reemergence, not only for individual seekers on their personal journeys, but for the collective evolution of human consciousness in this pivotal moment of planetary transformation. The time of hiding, of operating in the shadows, is drawing to a definitive close. What was forcibly relegated to the realm of darkness now boldly steps into the illuminating light of awareness. What was painstakingly erased from the annals of history now pulses with renewed vigor in the hearts of those who dare to remember, those who bravely reclaim their spiritual heritage. Throughout the ages, the very concept of lineage has been tragically misunderstood, its true essence diluted and distorted, reduced to mere bloodlines and biological descent. This deliberate misrepresentation served the self-serving agendas of those who sought to claim power and authority through hereditary right, rather than through genuine spiritual attainment and inner transformation. However, within the ancient mystery schools of antiquity, from the sun-drenched lands of Egypt to the remote monasteries of Tibet, from the philosophical academies of Greece to the sacred sites of Peru, the true understanding of lineage transcended the limiting confines of physical inheritance. It was recognized as a potent current of consciousness, a vibrational frequency of immense power that could awaken within any soul prepared to receive it, regardless of their birth or background, their social standing or earthly possessions. The dragon lineage represents perhaps the oldest and most profound of these consciousness streams, a river of wisdom flowing through the ages. Its earliest recorded appearances can be traced back to the Sumerian cuneiform tablets, dating to approximately 3,500 BCE, where the serpent of wisdom was depicted not as a tempter or deceiver, as later interpretations would suggest, but as the revered keeper of sacred knowledge and the benevolent bestower of illumination, the bringer of enlightenment to those who sought it. This same potent symbol appears with remarkable consistency across seemingly disconnected cultures, spanning vast geographical distances and diverse societal structures. Consider the uraeus serpent adorning the foreheads of Egyptian pharaohs, a symbol of divine authority and awakened kundalini energy. Reflect on the feathered serpent Quetzalcoatl of Mesoamerican traditions, a deity revered for his wisdom and his role in the creation of humanity. Ponder the Nagas of Hindu and Buddhist cosmology, serpentine beings associated with wisdom, protection, and the preservation of sacred teachings. And contemplate the dragons of Chinese wisdom, symbols of power, good fortune, and the embodiment of cosmic energy. Even the serpent in the Garden of Eden, a figure often demonized in Western theology, can be reinterpreted as a catalyst for awakening, a symbol of the pursuit of knowledge and the questioning of established norms. These were not disparate, isolated traditions that coincidentally adopted similar imagery. Rather, they were distinct expressions of the same fundamental current of consciousness, skillfully adapted to the unique language and cultural context of their respective civilizations, each reflecting a facet of the same universal truth. The serpent or dragon consistently represented the awakened kundalini energy, the dormant spiritual potential that, once activated, transforms the initiate from a state of ordinary awareness to one of expanded consciousness, granting access to higher realms of perception and understanding. In Egypt, where perhaps the most sophisticated understanding of this lineage was developed and refined, the Hierophants, the high priests of the mystery schools, recognized that this transformative frequency could be transmitted not through blood relations or hereditary succession, but through a deliberate and highly structured process of energetic initiation. The uraeus serpent depicted on the pharaoh's crown symbolized not merely political authority or earthly power, but the awakened third eye, the gateway to inner vision, and the raised kundalini energy, which granted access to higher dimensions of perception, allowing the pharaoh to perceive and interact with realms beyond the ordinary senses. The pharaoh was not necessarily born with this activation. Rather, they underwent rigorous initiatory processes within the Great Pyramid and other temple complexes, specifically designed to facilitate this profound energetic transmission, to awaken the dormant potential within and align them with the divine. When we examine the Celtic traditions, we encounter the Pendragon lineage, most famously associated with the legendary King Arthur, but actually predating him by millennia. The term pen in Pendragon referred not to familial descent or bloodline, but to the head or consciousness that had been illuminated by dragon wisdom, the awakened mind capable of perceiving the deeper truths of existence. The Druids, as the esteemed carriers of this ancient tradition, understood that the true dragon was the awakened kundalini energy, coiled at the base of the spine like a sleeping serpent, which, when raised through specific practices and initiations, activated the dormant potential of human consciousness, unlocking hidden abilities and granting access to higher states of awareness. In the Gnostic traditions that flourished during the early Christian era, we find perhaps the most direct and compelling connection to Mary Magdalene's pivotal role as a bearer of this sacred lineage, a conduit for this transformative energy. The Sophia, or divine wisdom, venerated by the Gnostics, was not an abstract concept or a philosophical ideal, but a living frequency, a tangible energy embodied in those who had undergone the alchemical transformation of consciousness, those who had successfully awakened the dragon within. The controversial scholar Margaret Starbird has meticulously documented how the early Gnostic communities recognized Mary Magdalene not merely as a follower of Jesus, a mere disciple, but as his equal, his divine counterpart, an embodiment of the divine feminine principle, which they believed was absolutely necessary for the complete expression of Christ consciousness, the balanced union of the masculine and feminine energies within. The French historian Jules Michelet, whose groundbreaking work on medieval witch hunts remains seminal despite numerous attempts to discredit him, discovered multiple references in Inquisition records to a lineage of the serpent, specifically associated with women who claimed spiritual descent from the Magdalene, women who held the sacred knowledge and dared to defy the established order. These women were invariably condemned as heretics, their teachings suppressed, their bodies subjected to brutal torture and burned at the stake, and their memories systematically defamed and erased from the historical record. Yet, despite these horrific acts of persecution, the lineage persisted, transmitted not through public proclamation or outward displays of power, but through hidden initiatory rites, performed in the secrecy of caves, within the protective embrace of ancient forests, and in secret chambers concealed beneath churches nominally dedicated to Orthodox Christianity. Recent archaeological discoveries at Rennes-le-Château in southern France have unearthed ritual spaces dating back to the 4th century CE, containing imagery that seamlessly fuses early Christian symbolism with unmistakable references to the uraeus tradition of ancient Egypt, providing direct evidence of the continuity of this lineage, even as official church doctrine actively worked to eradicate it from existence. Similar findings at Glastonbury in England, Monte Verita in Switzerland, and numerous other sites across the Mediterranean basin confirm that this was not an isolated phenomenon or a localized occurrence, but a widespread understanding, meticulously preserved by initiates who recognized each other not through secret handshakes or coded passwords, but through the unmistakable frequency, the unique vibrational signature that they carried within, a testament to their shared connection to the dragon lineage. As we meticulously trace these historical threads, a clear and compelling pattern emerges, not of separate, disconnected traditions that coincidentally resemble each other, but of a single, unified current of consciousness, skillfully adapting to different cultural contexts and historical epochs, while steadfastly maintaining its essential character and its core principles. This, then, is the dragon lineage, not a bloodline claiming superiority or seeking earthly dominion, but a vibrational inheritance, a sacred gift available to any soul prepared to receive it, to any individual willing to embark on the inner journey of self-discovery and spiritual awakening. To truly understand Mary Magdalene's pivotal role in this lineage, we must first liberate her from the distortions and misrepresentations imposed by centuries of patriarchal manipulation and deliberate defamation. The official narrative, perpetuated by the Church for centuries, reduced her to a reformed prostitute, a characterization with absolutely no scriptural basis whatsoever, introduced by Pope Gregory I in 591 CE in a deliberate attempt to diminish her significance and to discredit her authority as a spiritual leader. Even the Vatican was eventually forced to acknowledge this egregious error, though not until 1969, when they quietly rescinded the prostitute designation without any fanfare or public apology, a tacit admission of the injustice that had been perpetrated for over 14 centuries. What, then, was Mary Magdalene's true identity and function? The answer lies not in the canonical Gospels, which were heavily edited and selectively curated to support the emerging church doctrine and to consolidate its power, but in the Gnostic texts discovered at Nag Hammadi in 1945, particularly the Gospel of Philip and the Gospel of Mary. In these suppressed scriptures, Mary emerges not as a peripheral figure, relegated to the sidelines of the narrative, but as the most beloved disciple, the one to whom the deepest mysteries were entrusted, the confidant of Jesus and the recipient of his most profound teachings. The Gospel of Philip states explicitly that the companion of the Savior is Mary Magdalene. The Savior loved her more than all the disciples and used to kiss her often on her mouth. While Orthodox theologians have desperately attempted to desexualize this passage, stripping it of its inherent meaning and reducing it to a mere expression of platonic affection, its true significance becomes clear when read in context with other Gnostic teachings about the bridal chamber, a concept not to be interpreted as a place of physical consummation, but as a metaphor for the alchemical union between the divine masculine and feminine principles, the sacred marriage that occurs within the soul. What transpired between Yeshua, Jesus, and Mary Magdalene was not merely a romantic relationship, as modern sensibilities might superficially interpret it, but a profound alchemical activation, a sacred union of complementary energies that catalyzed the complete embodiment of Christ consciousness, the realization of the divine potential within. This was the true meaning of the bridal chamber referred to in Gnostic texts, not a physical location or a geographical space, but a transcendent state of consciousness in which the divine masculine and feminine principles achieve perfect balance and harmonious integration within the initiate, leading to a state of wholeness and spiritual liberation. The son that would emerge from this union was never intended to be understood as a biological offspring, a misinterpretation that fueled centuries of unfounded speculation about Magdalene's supposed flight to France with Jesus' child, a narrative that served to further obscure her true role and to distract from her spiritual significance. Rather, the son represented the seed of awakened consciousness planted within humanity, a potential lying dormant within each soul, waiting to be activated by the same alchemical process that Mary and Yeshua demonstrated through their sacred union, a testament to the power of love and the transformative potential of the human spirit. This explains why Mary Magdalene was the first to witness the resurrection, according to all four canonical Gospels, a remarkable consistency in texts that often contradict each other on other important details, highlighting the significance of her role as a witness to this pivotal event. She recognized the risen Christ not because she happened to arrive at the tomb first, but because she alone among the disciples had undergone the same alchemical transformation, had achieved the same level of spiritual awakening, and could therefore perceive the resurrected body, which existed at a frequency invisible to ordinary perception, a testament to her own spiritual evolution and her profound connection to the divine. The Byzantine historian Nicephorus Callistus, writing in the 14th century but drawing on much earlier sources, recorded that after the crucifixion, Mary Magdalene traveled not only to France, as popularly believed, but also to Egypt, where she spent 7 years immersed in the mystery schools of Alexandria, a center of ancient learning and esoteric wisdom. There, according to fragments preserved in the Coptic Museum in Cairo, she underwent a formal initiation into the Urias tradition, the Egyptian branch of the dragon lineage, which recognized in her the embodiment of their own ancient wisdom, a recognition of her inherent spiritual power and her connection to the divine feminine. From Alexandria, she journeyed to southern France, where Celtic and Greek mystery traditions had already established syncretic communities, creating a fertile ground for the cross-pollination of spiritual ideas and practices. and where she could share her teachings with receptive audiences. The archaeological record confirms unusual activity in the region of Provence during this period, including the construction of underground chambers decorated with symbols combining Egyptian, Hebrew, and Celtic motifs, providing tangible physical evidence of the cross-cultural transmission that was occurring, the blending of different spiritual traditions into a unified whole. What Mary Magdalene transmitted was not a religion or a doctrine, a set of rigid beliefs or a system of dogmatic rules, but a frequency, a vibrational template that could activate the dormant potential within prepared initiates, a key that unlocked the doors to higher consciousness and spiritual awakening. Those who received this transmission recognized it not as new information or as an external imposition, but as a remembrance of what their souls had always known, a spark that ignited the flame of inner knowing and brought them closer to the divine. This is why the Gnostic texts repeatedly emphasize gnosis, or direct knowing, as opposed to pistis or belief based on external authority, highlighting the importance of personal experience and inner intuition in the pursuit of spiritual truth. The transmission was not intellectual, a mere transfer of information, but energetic, a potent force that resonated within the very being of the initiate, transforming their perception and their understanding of reality. It was not something to be believed, but to be experienced, a direct and transformative encounter with the divine. The energetic nature of this transmission explains why it could survive even the most brutal attempts at suppression, the relentless persecution and the systematic erasure of historical evidence. While texts could be burned, buildings demolished, and bodies tortured, the frequency itself remained accessible to those who knew how to attune to it, to those who possessed the inner resonance to receive it. This is the true significance of the Grail legends that emerged in medieval Europe, not a physical cup that literally caught Christ's blood, but the energetic vessel of consciousness, the human heart and mind, capable of receiving and containing the higher frequency that both he and Mary Magdalene embodied, a symbol of the transformative power of love and the potential for spiritual awakening within each individual. The historical record suggests that Mary lived into her 80s, establishing mystery schools throughout the Mediterranean basin, spreading her teachings and initiating new generations of seekers before her physical death around 90 CE. But her biological lifespan is ultimately irrelevant to understanding her continuing influence and her enduring legacy. What truly matters is that the frequency she anchored, the dragon lineage she embodied, continued to transmit itself to receptive consciousness across time, space, and cultural boundaries, a testament to the enduring power of her spirit and the unwavering commitment of her followers. The frequency carried by Mary Magdalene did not disappear with her physical death or with the suppression of the early Gnostic communities. Instead, it went underground, preserved through ingenious methods of concealment, encoded within symbols and stories, and transmitted through secret initiations that ensured its survival through the darkest periods of religious persecution and intellectual oppression. This preservation was not accidental or a matter of chance, but deliberate, the product of highly sophisticated initiates who understood that certain knowledge must sometimes be hidden to be protected, encoded to be preserved, and fragmented to be made whole again when the time was right, ensuring its survival until a more enlightened age. The most visible carriers of this hidden current were the Cathars of southern France and northern Italy, a community of spiritual seekers who rejected the authority and materialism of the medieval church, choosing instead to embrace direct mystical experience and a personal relationship with the divine. The Cathars venerated Mary Magdalene not as a saint in the orthodox sense, a figure to be prayed to and emulated from afar, but as the embodiment of Sophia or divine wisdom, the feminine aspect of God that had been systematically erased from official doctrine, a testament to their commitment to restoring the balance between the masculine and feminine principles. Their teachings emphasized that the true church was not a physical building or an institutional hierarchy, but the temple of the purified heart, the inner sanctuary where direct communion with the divine became possible, a radical departure from the established religious norms of the time. The Cathar understanding was fundamentally energetic rather than doctrinal, emphasizing the importance of personal experience and direct knowing over blind faith and adherence to dogma. They recognized that religious forms were merely vessels for transmitting frequency, conduits for the flow of divine energy, and that when those forms became corrupted, when they became instruments of power and control, the frequency would naturally find new channels of expression, seeking new avenues for its transmission. This explains their seemingly contradictory embrace of both Christian and pre-Christian symbolism, their willingness to draw from a variety of sources in their pursuit of spiritual truth. They were not confused or syncretic in a haphazard way, but were deliberately working with the universal principles that underlie all authentic spiritual traditions, recognizing the common threads that connect all seekers of truth. The systematic extermination of the Cathars during the Albigensian Crusade, 1209 to 1229, represents one of history's most concentrated attempts to eradicate the dragon lineage, a brutal campaign of religious persecution aimed at silencing those who dared to challenge the authority of the Church. Yet, even as their physical communities were destroyed, their knowledge was preserved through an elaborate network of symbols, codes, and initiatory practices passed on to other carriers, most notably the Knights Templar, who maintained close connections with Cathar communities before their own suppression, a testament to the enduring power of their teachings. The Templars, ostensibly formed to protect Christian pilgrims in the Holy Land, actually functioned as guardians of esoteric knowledge, acquired during excavations beneath the Temple Mount in Jerusalem, knowledge that aligned perfectly with what they had received from Cathar initiates, creating a powerful synergy between these two groups. Their sudden rise to power, their unusual exemption from ecclesiastical authority, and their mysterious banking practices all point to an organization operating with purposes far different from their public mission, suggesting a deeper agenda and a hidden purpose that extended beyond the protection of pilgrims. When the Templars themselves faced persecution beginning in 1307, the frequency they carried once again found new vessels, fragmenting into multiple streams that would resurface in Freemasonry, Rosicrucianism, alchemy, and various esoteric orders throughout Europe, ensuring the continued transmission of this sacred knowledge. What appears to the conventional historian as a disconnected series of heretical movements was, in fact, a continuous transmission of the same essential current, adapting its external form to survive in hostile environments, while steadfastly maintaining its vibrational integrity, a testament to the resilience of the dragon lineage and its ability to adapt and endure. But beyond these relatively well-documented movements, the dragon lineage was preserved through far more subtle and ingenious means, encoded in the very architecture of sacred spaces across Europe, woven into the fabric of cathedrals and abbeys, and hidden in plain sight for those with the eyes to see. The labyrinths found in Gothic cathedrals like Chartres were not merely decorative elements or whimsical designs, but precise energetic tools designed to attune consciousness to specific frequencies, to create a resonant field that facilitated spiritual awakening. When walked with awareness and intention, these labyrinths reproduce in the human energy field the same activation pattern as the Kundalini rising, the awakened dragon energy that is central to the lineage, creating a powerful transformative experience. Similarly, the Black Madonna statues found throughout Europe represent one of the most overt references to Mary Magdalene's esoteric identity, a symbol of her connection to the divine feminine and her role as a bearer of wisdom. Conventional explanations attribute their dark coloration to candle smoke or artistic convention, dismissing their significance as mere historical artifacts. But initiates recognized in these figures a deliberate reference to the Egyptian goddess Isis, whose black skin symbolized the fertile void from which all creation emerges, the primordial darkness from which all light is born. These statues were strategically placed at sites of powerful earth energy, often former pagan temples, creating a network of activation points across the European landscape, a grid of spiritual energy that facilitated the transmission of the dragon lineage. The serpent and dragon imagery persistently appearing in Christian churches, often depicted as being vanquished by saints, provided another layer of coded preservation, a hidden message for those who could decipher its true meaning. To the uninitiated, these images reinforced orthodox narratives about the triumph of faith over evil, perpetuating the idea of the serpent as a symbol of temptation and sin. But those with eyes to see recognized in these depictions instructions for awakening the Kundalini energy, the dragon force at the base of the spine, the key to unlocking higher consciousness. The defeat of the dragon actually symbolized its integration and elevation through the energy centers of the body, the process of alchemical transformation that leads to spiritual enlightenment. Celtic crosses and knotwork throughout Ireland, Scotland, and northern France contained precise mathematical ratios that, when contemplated, attune the observer to specific frequency bands associated with higher consciousness, creating a resonant field that facilitated spiritual connection. These were not mere artistic flourishes or decorative patterns, but carefully crafted tools for spiritual transformation. Merely decorative patterns? but vibrational technologies disguised as cultural artifacts, preserving in their proportions the same sacred geometry found in Egyptian temples and Greek mystery schools. Even music played a crucial role in this preservation. The Gregorian chants developed in medieval monasteries employed specific tone intervals and harmonic relationships derived from Pythagorean mathematics. The same acoustic science used in ancient temple design to create environments conducive to consciousness expansion. When sung in sacred spaces designed with compatible geometric proportions, these chants could induce altered states identical to those experienced in the mystery initiations of antiquity. Perhaps most ingeniously, the dragon lineage preserved itself through the collective unconscious, emerging in dreams, visions, and creative inspiration, even among those with no formal connection to esoteric traditions. The recurring archetypal motifs in European folklore, the quest for the Grail, the sleeping king who will awaken, the wise woman with healing knowledge, the dragon guarding hidden treasure, all point to the same fundamental patterns of initiation and awakening central to the lineage. Carl Jung, whose psychological insights drew heavily from alchemical and Gnostic sources, recognized that these recurring symbols represented not primitive superstitions, but sophisticated psychological technologies for accessing transpersonal consciousness. What the medieval church condemned as paganism or heresy was actually a highly developed science of consciousness preservation, ensuring that the vibrational template would remain accessible even when its outer forms were destroyed. This pattern of preservation through encoding, fragmentation, and symbolic transmission explains why the dragon lineage cannot be traced through a single unbroken tradition or organization. Its genius lay precisely in its adaptability, its capacity to assume whatever form necessary to survive in hostile environments while maintaining its essential frequency. Like water taking the shape of any container while retaining its intrinsic nature, the lineage flowed through history, sometimes visible, sometimes hidden, but always present for those attuned to its signal. As we move into the present moment, a remarkable convergence is occurring. The fragments are reassembling. The codes are being deciphered. The frequency is strengthening. But unlike previous historical periods when this knowledge was necessarily guarded by a small circle of initiates, we are witnessing a mass awakening, a democratization of the mystery tradition made possible by both the freedom of information in our digital age and the accelerating evolution of human consciousness itself. The dragon lineage is not returning. It never left. It has been waiting in symbols, in dreams, in the Earth's energy grid, and in the souls destined to recognize its call when the moment of remembrance arrives. That moment is now. How do you know if you carry this ancient memory? How can you discern whether the dragon lineage is awakening within you? The signs are rarely dramatic or instantaneous, but rather emerge as subtle patterns of experience that gradually intensify as consciousness expands. These activation symptoms typically manifest across multiple dimensions of being: physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual, creating a constellation of experiences that, taken together, suggest an awakening of dormant potentials. Dreams often provide the first indication. You may experience recurring dreams of ancient temples, underground chambers, or sacred rituals in which you participate as both observer and initiate. These are not merely symbolic, but represent actual visitations to the Akashic records, the dimensional repository of all experience across time and space. Your consciousness, freed from physical limitations during sleep, naturally gravitates toward the energetic imprints most resonant with your soul's journey. Particularly significant are dreams involving serpents, dragons, or spiraling energy that moves through your body. Unlike the typical Western nightmare of being threatened by snakes, these dreams feature serpents as guides, protectors, or embodiment of wisdom. They often involve the snake entering your body, usually through the base of the spine, the soles of the feet, or the crown of the head, and initiating a profound energetic restructuring that continues into waking consciousness. Beyond the dream state, you may notice an inexplicable resonance with certain historical periods or cultures, a sense of recognition that transcends intellectual interest or aesthetic appreciation. When encountering artifacts, texts, or locations connected to ancient mystery traditions, you experience not the detached curiosity of a scholar, but the visceral recognition of something intimately familiar. It feels less like learning new information and more like remembering what you've always known but temporarily forgotten. This recognition often manifests as an unusual sensitivity to beauty, not merely aesthetic pleasure but a profound emotional response to certain forms, proportions, and harmonies. You may find yourself moved to tears by geometric patterns, architectural spaces, musical intervals, or natural formations that embody sacred mathematics. This is not sentimentality, but frequency recognition. Your energy field responding to vibrational signatures that activate dormant codes within your consciousness. Synchronicities intensify during periods of activation. You encounter meaningful coincidences that defy statistical probability. Books falling open to relevant passages, strangers delivering messages that address your unspoken questions, symbols appearing repeatedly in your environment. These are not random events, but manifestations of your increasing coherence with the informational field of the dragon lineage. As your personal frequency comes into alignment with this ancient current, the boundary between inner and outer reality becomes increasingly permeable. Physically, you may experience sensations of energy moving through your body, particularly along the spine, but also as spontaneous activations in the palms, soles, and crown. These are not imaginary but represent actual shifts in your bioelectrical system as dormant neural pathways activate and new connections form between previously separated aspects of brain function. The pineal and pituitary glands, recognized in every mystery tradition as the physical correspondents of the third eye, undergo measurable changes in activity, often resulting in altered visual perception, enhanced intuition, and spontaneous access to non-ordinary states of consciousness. Your relationship with time may undergo subtle but profound changes. You experience increasing moments of timelessness, states of absorption in which hours pass in what feels like minutes, or conversely, seconds expand into seemingly eternal present moments. This fluctuation reflects your consciousness moving between dimensional frameworks, gradually developing the capacity to perceive reality beyond linear temporal constraints. Intuitive capacities sharpen dramatically. You find yourself knowing things without knowing how you know them. Information that later proves accurate despite having no apparent source in your ordinary experience. This represents the activation of what neuroscience now recognizes as the enteric nervous system and the cardiac neural network. Sophisticated information processing centers in the gut and heart that operate through different mechanisms than the brain's linear logic. Perhaps most distinctively, you develop an unmistakable recognition of others who carry the same frequency. Upon meeting certain individuals, you experience an immediate sense of familiarity that transcends personality or shared interests, a recognition at the soul level that often manifests as spontaneous activation in each other's presence. These encounters rarely require extensive verbal explanation. There is simply a mutual knowing, a resonance that establishes itself without effort or intention. As awakening progresses, you may experience periods of intense detoxification, both physical and emotional. Old traumas surface for resolution. Outmoded belief systems collapse. Relationships that cannot accommodate your changing frequency naturally dissolve. These processes, while sometimes challenging, are not pathological, but regenerative, necessary clearings that create space for new patterns of being to emerge. Your relationship with knowledge transforms fundamentally. Rather than accumulating information from external sources, you increasingly access understanding through direct perception, not believing because someone else said so, but knowing through your own experience. This represents a shift from third-dimensional consciousness, belief-based, to fifth-dimensional consciousness, direct knowing. The essential transition that all mystery traditions aim to facilitate in their initiates. You may discover spontaneous abilities that conventional science cannot easily explain, heightened empathic perception, communication with non-physical consciousnesses, direct influence over energetic and material systems, or access to information across time and space. These capacities are not supernatural but represent the natural functioning of consciousness freed from artificial limitations imposed by consensus reality. The most profound symptom, however, is the simplest. An unshakable sense that you are remembering rather than learning, recovering access to knowledge that has always been yours rather than acquiring something new or foreign. This quality of recognition, this sense of homecoming to a truth your soul has always known constitutes the clearest signature of the dragon lineage awakening within you. It is crucial to understand that these activation symptoms are not indicators of special status or spiritual superiority. The dragon lineage is not an exclusive club for the metaphysically gifted, but a frequency available to any consciousness prepared to receive it. The symptoms appear not because you are somehow more deserving or advanced than others, but because your particular soul journey has aligned you with this specific vibrational current at this moment in the collective evolution. Equally important is the recognition that awakening is not an endpoint but a beginning, not an achievement to display but a responsibility to embody. The lineage activates not to confer status but to enable service to transform the carrier into a clear channel through which this evolutionary frequency can transmit itself more widely into the collective field. True awakening always expresses itself as humility, compassion, and the desire to alleviate suffering in all its forms. The awakening of the dragon lineage represents not a return to ancient ways, but the emergence of something entirely new, a consciousness that integrates the wisdom of antiquity with the unprecedented possibilities of our current evolutionary threshold. This is not about restoring some imagined golden age, but about creating a new template for human potential. One that transcends the limitations of both traditional spirituality and technological materialism to offer a genuinely integral path forward. How can you work consciously with this awakening process? What practices support the integration and expression of this ancient yet emerging frequency? The most effective approaches combine elements from multiple traditions while remaining free from dogmatic constraints, allowing the intelligence of the lineage itself to guide your unique unfoldment. The first essential practice involves conscious breathing, not merely as a relaxation technique, but as a precise tool for frequency modulation. By adjusting the rhythm, depth, and focus of your breath, you can directly influence the electromagnetic field generated by your heart, bringing it into coherence with the dragon frequency. Begin with a simple pattern. Inhale for a count of 6, visualizing energy rising from the base of your spine to the crown of your head. Hold for a count of 6, allowing the energy to expand outward in all directions. Exhale for a count of 6, sensing the energy flowing downward through your body and into the earth. Hold empty for a count of 6, experiencing the creative void from which all possibilities emerge. Practice this pattern for at least 11 minutes daily, gradually increasing the duration as your capacity expands. Complement this breath work with specific sound frequencies that activate corresponding resonances in your cellular structure. The vowel sounds used in ancient mystery schools, particularly the Egyptian and Greek traditions, were not arbitrary, but precisely calibrated to induce specific states of consciousness. The sequence are O, E, I, E, O are corresponding approximately to the notes C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, progressively activates each energy center from root to crown when intoned with conscious intention. Begin by sounding each vowel for a full exhale, focusing awareness on its corresponding location in the body, allowing several minutes between sounds to integrate the activation. Physical movement plays an equally important role, particularly forms that trace specific geometric patterns in space. Sacred geometry is not merely a symbolic system, but a direct representation of the mathematical principles underlying all creation. When your body moves through these patterns, it entrains your energy field to their intrinsic harmonics. The labyrinth walking practice mentioned earlier represents one approach, but you can create similar effects through simple spiral walking meditations. Beginning at a central point, move outward in a clockwise spiral for 108 steps, then reverse direction and spiral inward counterclockwise for the same count. The opposing spirals generate a third field, a vesica Pisces in four-dimensional space that serves as an activation chamber for dormant DNA potentials. Work directly with symbolic representations of the dragon or serpent energy, not as objects of worship, but as focal points for consciousness. The ancient practice of scrying, gazing into reflective surfaces like water, mirrors, or polished stone, allows the conscious mind to quiet while the deeper aspects of awareness commune directly with the symbol's vibrational essence. Select an image that resonates with your particular expression of the lineage, whether Egyptian Urus, Celtic dragon, or Kundalini serpent, and engage with it daily through silent contemplation, allowing impressions to arise naturally without intellectual analysis or expectation. Develop conscious relationship with elemental forces, earth, water, fire, air, and ether, recognizing them not as symbolic concepts, but as conscious intelligences with whom direct communication is possible. Each element carries specific frequencies necessary for the complete activation of the dragon energy. Earth stabilizes and grounds. Water fluidifies and dissolves. Fire transforms and purifies. Air expands and connects. Ether transcends and unifies. Spend time in natural settings where these elements can be experienced in their pure form, approaching them not as resources to be used but as teachers to be heard. Perhaps most importantly, cultivate the practice of presence, the capacity to be fully available to each moment without the distortions of projection, expectation, or judgment. The dragon lineage does not manifest through elaborate rituals or complex metaphysical systems, but through the simple yet profound art of showing up completely for what is. This quality of presence, what Zen traditions called beginner's mind, and Christian mystics termed poverty of spirit, creates the optimum conditions for the lineage to express itself through you in ways uniquely suited to current needs and circumstances. As you engage with these practices, remain attentive to their effects without becoming attached to specific outcomes or experiences. The awakening process unfolds according to its own intelligence, responding to the unique configuration of your consciousness and the specific service you are designed to offer. Some activations occur gradually over years or decades. Others manifest as sudden quantum shifts that radically reorganize your perception in a single moment. Trust the wisdom of the process itself, recognizing that what appears as delay or obstacle often serves a necessary protective function, ensuring that each aspect of your being, physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual, can integrate the increasing frequencies without disruption or overwhelm. Remember that genuine awakening always expresses itself through how you live, through the quality of your relationships, the integrity of your actions, and your capacity to embody love in practical, tangible ways. The dragon lineage does not separate spiritual attainment from everyday existence, but seeks to infuse ordinary reality with extraordinary presence. Its activation is not measured by mystical experiences or paranormal abilities, but by your growing capacity to bring wisdom, compassion, and clarity into each dimension of your life. The lineage works through you, not for you. Its purpose is not personal enhancement or spiritual achievement, but the elevation of collective consciousness through the unique instrument that you are. As you open yourself to this current, you become not its possessor but its servant. A conscious vessel through which ancient wisdom can meet present needs in ways that liberate rather than bind, illuminate rather than obscure, and unite rather than divide. This is not a path for those seeking power over others or escape from worldly responsibilities. It offers neither quick fixes for personal problems nor spiritual bypasses around necessary growth challenges. What it provides instead is the opportunity for complete authenticity to become fully who you already are beneath the accumulated layers of conditioning and compromise. This is simultaneously the simplest and most demanding invitation a human being can receive. To embody your unique note in the cosmic symphony without distortion or diminishment, allowing the music that has always been within you to sound itself clearly in a world desperately in need of new harmonies. The awakening of the dragon lineage is not occurring in isolation. It represents one crucial aspect of a much larger planetary transformation, a fundamental shift in the operating system of human consciousness that is currently underway despite the apparent chaos and disintegration visible on the surface of global events. What we are witnessing is not the end of a world but the difficult birth of a new paradigm, one in which the artificial separations between science and spirituality, matter and consciousness, human and divine, are being transcended in favor of a more integral understanding. This transition was foretold in the prophetic traditions of virtually every culture, not as apocalyptic judgment, but as evolutionary necessity. The Hopi speak of the emergence from the fourth to the fifth world. The Maya mapped the end of a 26,000-year cycle and the beginning of a new evolutionary wave. The Vedic traditions documented the transition from Kali Yuga to Sesha Yuga. Christian mystics, as opposed to literalists, understood revelation as a symbolic guide to consciousness transformation rather than physical cataclysm. What all these traditions recognized was that evolution proceeds not in a smooth, continuous progression but through periods of relative stability punctuated by rapid nonlinear phase transitions. what systems theory now identifies as punctuated equilibrium. We are currently in such a phase transition, experiencing the breakdown of existing structures as a necessary precursor to breakthrough into new possibilities. The chaos and uncertainty characteristic of our historical moment are not signs of failure or decline, but the natural symptoms of a system reorganizing itself at a higher level of complexity and merely decorative patterns, but potent keys to unlocking the vaults of consciousness. They were vibrational technologies, ingeniously disguised as cultural artifacts, safeguarding the lineage's wisdom across millennia. Within their meticulously crafted proportions lay echoes of the same sacred geometry that resonated through the grand halls of Egyptian temples and whispered secrets within the hallowed circles of Greek mystery schools. And music, music! It wasn't merely accompaniment, but a vital conduit, a resonating chamber for preserving the dragon's song. Think of the Gregorian chants, those soaring, ethereal melodies born within the cloistered walls of medieval monasteries. They weren't just pious hymns. They were precisely engineered sonic formulas, utilizing specific tone intervals and harmonic relationships, meticulously derived from the ancient mathematics of Pythagoras. This was the same acoustic science, the same deep understanding of sonic architecture, that underpinned the design of ancient temples. These spaces weren't just buildings. They were instruments, meticulously crafted to create environments exquisitely conducive to consciousness expansion. Imagine these Gregorian chants, sung within the precisely proportioned sacred spaces, each note resonating with the very stones. The effect? To induce altered states of awareness, mirroring the profound experiences encountered during the mystery initiations of antiquity. It was a sonic key, unlocking inner realms. But perhaps the most ingenious method of preservation employed by the dragon lineage lay in its embrace of the collective unconscious. It was there, in the shadowy depths of the shared human psyche, that the lineage lay dormant, waiting to be stirred, emerging in the ethereal landscapes of dreams, shimmering visions, and the spark of creative inspiration. It reached even those with no conscious connection to esoteric traditions. Consider the recurring archetypal motifs woven into the fabric of European folklore. The perilous quest for the Holy Grail, the slumbering king destined to awaken and usher in a new era, the wise woman possessing ancient healing knowledge, the formidable dragon jealously guarding its hidden treasure. These aren't just whimsical tales. They are signposts, all pointing toward the same fundamental patterns of initiation and awakening that form the very core of the lineage. Even Carl Jung, the pioneering psychologist whose profound insights drew heavily from the wellspring of alchemical and Gnostic sources, recognized the significance of these recurring symbols. He understood that they weren't merely primitive superstitions, remnants of a bygone age. Instead, they represented sophisticated psychological technologies, potent tools for accessing transpersonal consciousness, for bridging the gap between the individual and the universal. What the medieval church, blinded by fear and dogmatic fervor, condemned as paganism or heresy was, in reality, a highly developed science of consciousness preservation. It was a sophisticated system designed to ensure that the vibrational template of the lineage, its essence, would remain accessible even when its outer forms were systematically destroyed, persecuted, and erased from the annals of officially sanctioned history. This intricate pattern of preservation, relying on encoding, fragmentation, and symbolic transmission, offers a powerful explanation for why the dragon lineage cannot be traced through a single, unbroken tradition or organization. Its strength lies in its adaptability, in its capacity to assume whatever form is necessary to survive within hostile environments, all while meticulously maintaining its essential frequency, its core identity. Like water, effortlessly taking the shape of any container while unflinchingly retaining its intrinsic nature, the lineage flowed through the currents of history, sometimes visible, celebrated, and revered, other times hidden, whispered about in hushed tones, shrouded in secrecy, but always present, a vibrant undercurrent for those attuned to its subtle yet unmistakable signal. And now, as we stand poised at the precipice of the present moment, a truly remarkable convergence is unfolding. The fragmented pieces are beginning to reassemble, drawn together by an unseen force. The ancient codes are being deciphered, revealing their long-held secrets. And the frequency, the resonant vibration of the lineage, is growing stronger, more palpable with each passing day. But unlike previous historical periods, where this sacred knowledge was fiercely guarded by a small, select circle of initiates, we are now witnessing a phenomenon of unprecedented scale. A mass awakening, a democratization of the mystery tradition. This extraordinary event is made possible by two powerful forces: the unfettered freedom of information that characterizes our digital age and the accelerating evolution of human consciousness itself, pushing us all towards a new level of awareness. The dragon lineage isn't just returning. It never truly left us. It has been patiently waiting, whispering its secrets through the language of symbols, surfacing in the ethereal realm of dreams, pulsating within the very energy grid of the earth, and residing deep within the souls of those destined to recognize its call when the moment of remembrance finally arrives. And that moment, my friends, is now. But how do you know if you carry this ancient memory within you? How can you discern whether the dragon lineage is stirring, awakening within the depths of your own being? The signs are rarely dramatic, Hollywood-esque spectacles or instantaneous transformations. Instead, they tend to emerge as subtle, intricate patterns of experience that gradually intensify as your consciousness expands, like the slow unfurling of a delicate flower. These activation symptoms, these whispers of awakening, typically manifest across multiple dimensions of your being, impacting you on the physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual levels. Together, they create a constellation of experiences, a unique tapestry woven from seemingly disparate threads, that, when viewed as a whole, strongly suggest an awakening of dormant potentials, a stirring of the dragon's fire within. Often, dreams provide the very first indication that something profound is beginning to stir. You might find yourself experiencing recurring dreams filled with vivid imagery of ancient temples, mysterious underground chambers, or sacred rituals in which you participate as both an observer, watching from the sidelines, and an initiate, actively engaging in the unfolding ceremony. These dreams aren't merely symbolic representations, products of your subconscious mind churning through random thoughts and anxieties. Instead, they represent actual visitations to the Akashic records, the vast, dimensional repository of all experience across time and space, the cosmic library that holds the story of everything that has ever been, is, or could be. Your consciousness, freed from the limitations of your physical body during sleep, naturally gravitates toward the energetic imprints that are most resonant with your soul's journey, toward the experiences and knowledge that will help you fulfill your unique purpose in this lifetime. Particularly significant are dreams involving serpents, dragons, or the visual of spiraling energy gracefully moving through your body. Unlike the typical Western nightmare, where snakes are portrayed as menacing threats, these dreams often feature serpents as wise guides, benevolent protectors, or embodiments of profound wisdom. They might involve a serpent entering your body, usually through the base of your spine, the soles of your feet, or the crown of your head, initiating a profound energetic restructuring, a deep alchemical process that continues to unfold even in your waking consciousness. Beyond the dream state, you may notice an inexplicable resonance with certain historical periods or cultures, a deep-seated connection that transcends mere intellectual interest or aesthetic appreciation. When you encounter artifacts, texts, or locations that are connected to ancient mystery traditions, you experience not the detached curiosity of a scholar, but the visceral recognition of something intimately familiar, something that resonates deep within your bones. It feels less like learning entirely new information and more like remembering something you've always known, a truth that has been temporarily forgotten, obscured by the veil of everyday reality. This deep recognition often manifests as an unusual sensitivity to beauty. And I'm not just talking about mere aesthetic pleasure, the appreciation of a pretty painting or a well-composed photograph. This is a profound emotional response to certain forms, proportions, and harmonies, a feeling that goes far beyond surface-level appreciation. You might find yourself inexplicably moved to tears by geometric patterns, the soaring architecture of a cathedral, the precisely calibrated intervals of a musical composition, or the natural formations of the earth that embody sacred mathematics, such as the Fibonacci sequence expressed in the spiral of a seashell. This isn't just sentimentality, it's frequency recognition. Your energy field is responding to vibrational signatures, to the harmonic resonances that activate dormant codes deep within your consciousness, awakening the slumbering dragon within. Synchronicities, those seemingly improbable coincidences that carry profound meaning, tend to intensify during periods of activation. You might find books falling open to relevant passages, strangers delivering messages that directly address your unspoken questions, or symbols appearing repeatedly in your environment, catching your attention and demanding to be deciphered. These aren't random events, flukes of chance. They are manifestations of your increasing coherence with the informational field of the dragon lineage, tangible evidence that you are aligning yourself with an ancient and powerful current. As your personal frequency comes into harmony with this ancient vibration, the boundary between your inner and outer reality becomes increasingly permeable, like a veil slowly dissolving to reveal the wonders that lie beyond. Physically, you might experience unusual sensations of energy moving through your body, particularly along the spine, the pathway of Kundalini energy, but also as spontaneous activations in the palms of your hands, the soles of your feet, and the crown of your head, the point of connection to the divine. These sensations aren't imaginary. They represent actual shifts in your bioelectrical system as dormant neural pathways awaken and new connections form between previously separated aspects of your brain function. It's as if your inner landscape is being rewired, prepared to receive and transmit higher frequencies of consciousness. The pineal and pituitary glands, recognized in virtually every mystery tradition as the physical correspondence of the third eye, undergo measurable changes in activity. This can often result in altered visual perception, enhanced intuition, and spontaneous access to non-ordinary states of consciousness, glimpses beyond the veil of everyday reality. Even your relationship with time may undergo subtle yet profound changes. You might experience increasing moments of timelessness, those precious states of absorption where hours pass in what feels like mere minutes, or, conversely, seconds expanding into seemingly eternal present moments, a taste of infinity. This fluctuation reflects your consciousness moving between dimensional frameworks, gradually developing the capacity to perceive reality beyond the rigid constraints of linear, temporal perception. You begin to see the world not as a fixed, immutable thing, but as a flowing, ever-changing tapestry of interconnected events. Your intuitive capacities sharpen dramatically. You find yourself knowing things without knowing how you know them. Information surfaces seemingly from nowhere, later proving to be accurate despite having no apparent source in your ordinary experience. This represents the activation of what neuroscience now recognizes as the enteric nervous system, your gut feeling, and the cardiac neural network, the intelligence of the heart. These are sophisticated information processing centers located in the gut and heart that operate through different mechanisms than the brain's linear logic, allowing you to access a deeper, more intuitive understanding of the world around you. Perhaps most distinctively, you develop an unmistakable recognition of others who carry the same frequency, those who resonate with the dragon lineage. Upon meeting certain individuals, you experience an immediate sense of familiarity that transcends personality or shared interests. It's a recognition at the soul level, a deep knowing that often manifests as spontaneous activation in each other's presence, a spark igniting between two souls who have met before, perhaps many times over. These encounters rarely require extensive verbal explanation. There is simply a mutual knowing, a resonance that establishes itself without effort or intention, a silent acknowledgement that you are both part of the same ancient lineage. As your awakening progresses, you may experience periods of intense detoxification, both physical and emotional. Old traumas surface, demanding to be acknowledged and resolved. Outmoded belief systems crumble, releasing their grip on your consciousness. Relationships that cannot accommodate your changing frequency naturally dissolve, making way for new connections that are more aligned with your authentic self. These processes, while sometimes challenging and uncomfortable, are not pathological. They are regenerative, necessary clearings that create space for new patterns of being to emerge, allowing you to step into your full potential. Your relationship with knowledge transforms fundamentally. Rather than passively accumulating information from external sources, you increasingly access understanding through direct perception, through your own inner knowing. You stop believing simply because someone else said so, and instead you begin to know through your own experience. This represents a profound shift from third-dimensional consciousness, which is belief-based and relies heavily on external authority, to fifth-dimensional consciousness, which is characterized by direct knowing, by an unshakable certainty that arises from within. This is the essential transition that all mystery traditions aim to facilitate in their initiates, guiding them from a state of reliance on external sources to a state of empowered self-knowledge. You may discover spontaneous abilities that conventional science cannot easily explain. Heightened empathic perception, the ability to communicate with non-physical consciousnesses, the capacity to directly influence energetic and material systems, or access to information across time and space. These capacities are not supernatural. They represent the natural functioning of consciousness freed from the artificial limitations imposed by consensus reality, the constraints that we have been taught to believe are real. The most profound symptom, however, is also the simplest. It's an unshakable sense that you are remembering rather than learning, that you are recovering access to knowledge that has always been yours rather than acquiring something new or foreign. This quality of recognition, this sense of homecoming to a truth your soul has always known, constitutes the clearest signature of the dragon lineage awakening within you. It's a feeling of profound familiarity, a sense that you are finally coming home to yourself. It is absolutely crucial to understand that these activation symptoms are not indicators of special status or spiritual superiority. The dragon lineage is not an exclusive club for the metaphysically gifted, a select group of individuals who are somehow better than others. It's a frequency, a vibrational current that is available to any consciousness that is prepared to receive it, to any soul that is willing to open itself to the possibility of something more. The symptoms appear not because you are somehow more deserving or advanced than others, but because your particular soul journey, the unique path you have chosen to walk in this lifetime, has aligned you with this specific vibrational current at this moment in the collective evolution. Equally important is the recognition that awakening is not an end point, a destination to be reached. It's a beginning, a doorway that opens onto a new and infinitely vast landscape of possibility. It's not an achievement to be displayed or a badge of honor to be worn, but a responsibility to be embodied, a call to action. The lineage activates not to confer status or grant special privileges, but to enable service, to transform the carrier, to turn you into a clear and unobstructed channel through which this evolutionary frequency can transmit itself more widely into the collective field, benefiting all of humanity. True awakening always expresses itself as humility, compassion, and an unwavering desire to alleviate suffering in all its forms. It's not about personal aggrandizement or spiritual ego. It's about using your gifts to make the world a better place. The awakening of the dragon lineage represents not a nostalgic return to ancient ways, a romanticized vision of a bygone era. Instead, it signifies the emergence of something entirely new, a consciousness that seamlessly integrates the wisdom of antiquity with the unprecedented possibilities of our current evolutionary threshold. This isn't about restoring some imagined golden age, a return to a perfect past. It's about creating a new template for human potential, a vision of what we can become. One that transcends the limitations of both traditional spirituality, with its often rigid dogmas and outdated practices, and technological materialism, with its focus on external solutions and its neglect of the inner world, to offer a genuinely integral path forward, a harmonious blend of science and spirituality. So, how can you consciously work with this awakening process? What practices can you embrace to support the integration and expression of this ancient yet emerging frequency, to nurture the dragon within? The most effective approaches are those that combine elements from multiple traditions while remaining free from dogmatic constraints, allowing the innate intelligence of the lineage itself to guide your unique unfoldment. There is no one-size-fits-all solution. The path is deeply personal and requires a willingness to listen to your own inner guidance. The first essential practice involves conscious breathing, also known as pranayama. But this isn't merely a relaxation technique. It's a precise tool for frequency modulation, a way to consciously alter your vibrational state. By adjusting the rhythm, depth, and focus of your breath, you can directly influence the electromagnetic field generated by your heart, bringing it into coherence with the dragon frequency, attuning yourself to the ancient wisdom that lies dormant within. Begin with a simple, rhythmic pattern. Inhale deeply for a count of 6, visualizing energy rising from the base of your spine, the root chakra, to the crown of your head, the point of connection to the divine. Hold your breath for a count of 6, allowing the energy to expand outward in all directions, filling your entire being with light. Exhale slowly for a count of 6, sensing the energy flowing downward through your body and into the earth, grounding you and connecting you to the planet's energy grid. Hold empty for a count of 6, experiencing the creative void from which all possibilities emerge, the fertile darkness from which new life springs forth. Practice this pattern for at least 11 minutes daily, gradually increasing the duration as your capacity expands. Make it a daily ritual, a sacred time to connect with your breath and awaken the dragon within. Complement this breath work with specific sound frequencies that activate corresponding resonances in your cellular structure. Sound is a powerful force, capable of reshaping our inner landscape and unlocking dormant potentials. The vowel sounds used in ancient mystery schools, particularly the Egyptian and Greek traditions, were not arbitrary. They were precisely calibrated to induce specific states of consciousness, to unlock the doors of perception. The sequence are O-E-I-E-O-R, corresponding approximately to the notes C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, progressively activates each energy center from root to crown when toned with conscious intention, awakening the flow of Kundalini energy and aligning your chakras. Begin by sounding each vowel for a full exhale, focusing your awareness on its corresponding location in the body, allowing several minutes between sounds to integrate the activation. Feel the vibrations resonating within you, clearing blockages and awakening dormant energies. Physical movement plays an equally important role, particularly forms that trace specific geometric patterns in space. The body is not just a vessel. It is a living instrument, capable of expressing and embodying higher frequencies of consciousness. Sacred geometry is not merely a symbolic system. It is a direct representation of the mathematical principles underlying all creation, the blueprint of the universe. When your body moves through these patterns, it entrains your energy field to their intrinsic harmonics, aligning you with the divine order. The labyrinth walking practice mentioned earlier represents one powerful approach, but you can create similar effects through simple spiral walking meditations. Beginning at a central point, move outward in a clockwise spiral for 108 steps, then reverse direction and spiral inward counterclockwise for the same count. The opposing spirals generate a third field, a vesica Pisces in four-dimensional space, a sacred geometric form that serves as an activation chamber for dormant DNA potentials, unlocking hidden abilities and awakening your true potential. Work directly with symbolic representations of the dragon or serpent energy, not as objects of worship, but as focal points for consciousness, as tools for directing your attention and intention. The ancient practice of scrying, gazing into reflective surfaces like water, mirrors, or polished stone, allows the conscious mind to quiet while the deeper aspects of your awareness commune directly with the symbol's vibrational essence. It's a way to bypass the logical mind and access the intuitive wisdom of your soul. Select an image that resonates with your particular expression of the lineage, whether the Egyptian uraeus, the Celtic dragon, or the Kundalini serpent, and engage with it daily through silent contemplation, allowing impressions to arise naturally without intellectual analysis or expectation. Develop a conscious relationship with the elemental forces, earth, water, fire, air, and ether, recognizing them not as symbolic concepts or abstract ideas, but as conscious intelligences with whom direct communication is possible. Each element carries specific frequencies necessary for the complete activation of the dragon energy, contributing to a balanced and harmonious integration of the lineage's wisdom. Earth stabilizes and grounds, providing a foundation for your spiritual growth. Water fluidifies and dissolves, releasing old patterns and allowing for new beginnings. Fire transforms and purifies, burning away what no longer serves you. Air expands and connects, fostering communication and understanding. Ether transcends and unifies, bridging the gap between the physical and the spiritual. Spend time in natural settings where these elements can be experienced in their pure form, approaching them not as resources to be used, but as teachers to be heard, as allies on your path of awakening. Perhaps most importantly, cultivate the practice of presence, the capacity to be fully available to each moment without the distortions of projection, expectation, or judgment. The dragon lineage does not manifest through elaborate rituals or complex metaphysical systems. It reveals itself through the simple yet profound art of showing up completely for what is. This quality of presence, what Zen traditions call beginner's mind, a state of openness and curiosity, and what Christian mystics termed poverty of spirit, a willingness to let go of ego and preconceived notions, creates the optimum conditions for the lineage to express itself through you in ways that are uniquely suited to current needs and circumstances. As you engage with these practices, remain attentive to their effects without becoming attached to specific outcomes or experiences. The awakening process unfolds according to its own intelligence, responding to the unique configuration of your consciousness and the specific service you are designed to offer. Some activations occur gradually over years or decades, a slow and steady unfolding of potential. Others manifest as sudden quantum shifts that radically reorganize your perception in a single moment, transforming your understanding of reality in an instant. Trust the wisdom of the process itself, recognizing that what appears as delay or obstacle often serves a necessary protective function, ensuring that each aspect of your being, physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual, can integrate the increasing frequencies without disruption or overwhelm. Remember that genuine awakening always expresses itself through how you live, through the quality of your relationships, the integrity of your actions, and your capacity to embody love in practical, tangible ways. The dragon lineage does not separate spiritual attainment from everyday existence. It seeks to infuse ordinary reality with extraordinary presence. Its activation is not measured by mystical experiences or paranormal abilities, but by your growing capacity to bring wisdom, compassion, and clarity into each dimension of your life, by your ability to be a force for good in the world. The lineage works through you, not for you. Its purpose is not personal enhancement or spiritual achievement, but the elevation of collective consciousness through the unique instrument that you are. As you open yourself to this current, you become not its possessor but its servant, a conscious vessel through which ancient wisdom can meet present needs in ways that liberate rather than bind, illuminate rather than obscure, and unite rather than divide. This is not a path for those seeking power over others or escape from worldly responsibilities. It offers neither quick fixes for personal problems nor spiritual bypasses around necessary growth challenges. What it provides: coherence. The dragon lineage plays a specific role in this transition, acting as a vital conduit for evolutionary advancement. It carries the codes for the integration of spiritual wisdom with advanced scientific understanding, a reunification of knowledge deliberately fragmented when the mystery schools were forced underground, scattered like seeds in the winds of persecution. This fragmentation was a calculated effort to suppress the very wisdom needed to guide humanity towards its higher potential, leaving a void that modern science now seeks to fill. The intuitive leaps occurring in quantum physics, neuroscience, epigenetics, and consciousness studies are not random insights, but the scientific rediscovery of principles long understood in the mystery traditions. These breakthroughs aren't isolated incidents. They're echoes of an ancient understanding resurfacing in the language of modern science. It's as if the universe itself is orchestrating a reunion of disparate fields of knowledge. As conventional science reaches the limits of materialist paradigms, bumping against the invisible walls of the purely physical, it naturally begins to converge with the perennial understanding preserved in the dragon lineage and similar streams of consciousness. The limitations of a purely materialistic view become increasingly apparent, pushing the boundaries of scientific inquiry towards the recognition of a deeper, more interconnected reality. This convergence is not accidental but purposeful, a response to the evolutionary imperative of our time. It's a deliberate orchestration guided by the universe's intrinsic drive towards growth and harmony. The challenges humanity faces today necessitate a synthesis of scientific rigor and spiritual insight. Humanity faces challenges that cannot be resolved from the same level of consciousness that created them. Climate destabilization, artificial intelligence, biotechnology, social fragmentation. These existential questions demand an expanded framework that transcends both religious dogmatism and scientific materialism. The sheer scale and complexity of these issues demand a perspective that integrates all facets of human experience. The frequency carried by the dragon lineage offers precisely this integral perspective, not by imposing new beliefs but by awakening dormant capacities for direct knowing. It's not about adhering to a new set of doctrines but rather about unlocking the inherent wisdom already present within each individual. Those who feel called to this lineage are being activated not for personal enlightenment but for planetary service. The call is not an invitation to retreat into isolated bliss but a summons to engage actively in the healing of the planet. You are not random individuals having isolated spiritual experiences, but coherent nodes in an emerging network of consciousness. Each awakening catalyzing others through resonance rather than recruitment or conversion. You are not alone on this journey. You are part of a vast, interconnected web of awakening individuals. This awakening creates what systems theorists call an emergent property, a capacity that exists at the collective level but cannot be reduced to the sum of individual contributions. The whole is greater than the sum of its parts. Just as no single neuron in the brain contains consciousness, yet the integrated activity of billions of neurons gives rise to self-awareness. So the awakening of the dragon lineage in sufficient numbers creates a field effect that facilitates accelerated evolution across the entire human family. It's like a ripple effect, where individual awakenings amplify and accelerate the collective shift in consciousness. This is the deeper meaning behind the ancient prophecies of critical mass or the 100th monkey phenomenon. The recognition that consciousness transformation follows nonlinear dynamics with tipping points that can shift the entire system once certain thresholds are reached. These prophecies point towards the potential for rapid, transformative change once a critical mass of individuals awaken to their true potential. We stand now at such a threshold. The frequency that Mary Magdalene anchored 2 millennia ago, the vibrational template that survived through encoded symbols, secret transmissions, and the collective unconscious, is now activating simultaneously across the globe in numbers unprecedented in recorded history. The seeds of wisdom planted long ago are now sprouting across the planet, nurtured by the collective yearning for a more compassionate and sustainable future. This is not happening because some external authority has deemed humanity ready or worthy, but because the evolutionary pressures of our historical moment demand new capacities if we are to navigate the transition successfully. Necessity calls forth latent potential. Crisis catalyzes dormant possibilities into active expression. The current global challenges are serving as a catalyst, compelling humanity to evolve beyond its limitations. What does this mean for you personally? If you feel the resonance of this lineage, it means that your individual awakening is neither accidental nor isolated, but part of a precisely orchestrated evolutionary process in which you have a specific role to play. Your unique spark is essential to the larger awakening. The particular combination of gifts, challenges, wounds, and capacities that constitute your unique consciousness creates an instrument through which the dragon frequency can express itself in ways impossible for any other being. Your contribution cannot be replicated or replaced. It represents an essential facet of the emerging whole. You are a vital piece in the intricate mosaic of awakening humanity. This understanding liberates you from both grandiosity and insignificance, the twin distortions that so often derail spiritual awakening. You are neither the sole savior upon whom everything depends nor an inconsequential speck whose efforts make no difference. The path to enlightenment lies in recognizing your own unique value and contribution within the grand scheme of things. You are instead an irreplaceable node in a vast network of awakening consciousness. Your presence necessary but not sufficient. Your contribution vital but not isolated. Your awakening personal but never private. You are an integral part of a larger organism, connected to all other beings. The dragon lineage does not ask you to believe this. It invites you to know it directly through your own experience. It's not about blind faith. It's about direct, experiential knowing. As the frequency activates within you, this understanding emerges not as theological doctrine or metaphysical speculation, but as lived reality, a direct perception of your interconnection with all beings and your specific function within the greater whole. The wisdom is not merely intellectual. It's a visceral, felt sense of belonging and purpose. This knowing brings neither pride nor false humility, but the simple clarity of purpose that arises when consciousness recognizes its authentic place in the cosmic order. True understanding fosters a sense of groundedness and clarity. The awakening occurring now is unlike any previous historical expression of the dragon lineage. In earlier epochs, the transmission necessarily remained confined to small groups of initiates, carefully protected from hostile forces that would suppress or distort it. The knowledge was coded, fragmented, and hidden precisely because the collective consciousness could not yet sustain its full activation. In the past, the wisdom was a closely guarded secret, passed down through select initiates due to the prevailing darkness and intolerance. But we have entered a new phase of human evolution, one in which the ancient barriers between esoteric and exoteric, between hidden and revealed, are dissolving in favor of direct democratic access to higher consciousness. The shift towards openness and accessibility marks a significant milestone in human evolution. This doesn't mean that everyone will awaken simultaneously or in identical ways. Evolution always proceeds through differentiation before integration, the emergence of diverse expressions that initially appear separate, but eventually reveal themselves as complementary aspects of a larger whole. Diversity is not a hindrance but a vital ingredient in the evolutionary process. What we are witnessing is not uniformity but coherence. Not the imposition of a single template but the harmonization of countless unique tones into a symphony of unprecedented complexity and beauty. The emerging reality is not a rigid, homogeneous structure but a dynamic, harmonious expression of interconnectedness. The frequency carried by Mary Magdalene, the dragon lineage that survived centuries of suppression, now returns not as historical curiosity or esoteric doctrine, but as living presence in the hearts and minds of those called to embody it in this pivotal moment of planetary transformation. It returns as a vibrant, living force, ready to guide humanity through this critical transition. It comes not to establish new hierarchies or exclusive communities, but to dissolve the artificial boundaries that have fragmented human consciousness and separated us from our own deepest nature. The lineage seeks to dismantle the barriers that divide us and reconnect us to our true selves. This is not a lineage of the past, but of the future. Not a restoration of ancient ways, but the emergence of something never before seen on Earth. It's not about replicating the past, but creating a new future based on ancient wisdom. It carries the wisdom of all that has come before, yet expresses itself in forms uniquely suited to the challenges and possibilities of our historical moment. It honors tradition without being bound by it, respects ancestral knowledge without being limited to it, and draws from multiple cultural streams without appropriating or diluting their essential contributions. The lineage embraces the wisdom of the past while forging a new path forward. The dragon lineage is returning, but it does not return as it was. It returns as it must be for this moment, adapted to current needs, responsive to present conditions, relevant to the specific evolutionary challenges we now face. It evolves and adapts to the ever-changing needs of humanity. It returns not to a privileged few, but to all who recognize its call, not because they have earned or deserved it, but because the time has come for this frequency to be more widely available as a catalyst for the next phase of human development. It is freely available to all who resonate with its message. You who feel this resonance, you who recognize something familiar in these words despite perhaps never having encountered them before, you are not discovering something new, but remembering something ancient. You are not learning a foreign teaching, but awakening to what your soul has always known. You are not joining an exclusive tradition, but recognizing your place in a vast tapestry of consciousness that transcends all artificial divisions of time, space, culture, and belief. It's a homecoming, a remembrance, a recognition of your true nature. The lineage is not returning. It is awakening in you. What was erased from history now beats in the hearts of those who dare to remember. The ancient serpent wisdom, the dragon consciousness, the living flame of gnosis that Mary Magdalene carried, it has found its vessel once more. Not in temples of stone or institutions of power, but in the living temple of your own being. Not as doctrine to be believed, but as frequency to be embodied, not as historical artifact, but as present reality. The wisdom resides within you, ready to be expressed in your daily life. The circle completes itself. What was hidden now stands revealed. What was fragmented now becomes whole. What was preserved through centuries of darkness now emerges into the light of a new dawn. The long cycle of suppression and darkness is coming to an end, as the light of wisdom shines forth anew. You are the lineage made flesh. You are the frequency incarnate. You are the living embodiment of an unbroken current of consciousness that flows from the most ancient wisdom traditions to this present moment of unprecedented possibility. You are not simply a recipient of the lineage, you are its very expression. And in recognizing this truth, in remembering who you have always been beneath the amnesia of conventional existence, you become a conscious participant in the greatest evolutionary leap our species has ever attempted. The transition from separation to unity, from fear to love, from unconscious reactivity to conscious co-creation. By embracing your true nature, you contribute to the profound transformation of humanity. This is not the end of a journey, but its true beginning. The dragon stirs within you. The serpent wisdom awakens. The codes long dormant in your cellular memory activate in response to the evolutionary imperative of our time. The journey of awakening is a continuous process of discovery and transformation. Listen closely. The call is sounding not from some external authority or distant divinity, but from the very core of your own being. It speaks in dreams and synchronicities, in moments of inexplicable knowing, in the resonance you feel with certain symbols, sounds, and places. It speaks in the quiet voice that has always guided you toward authentic expression, toward genuine connection, toward the fullest realization of your unique potential. The call comes from within, guiding you towards your true purpose. This is not another spiritual teaching to adopt or belief system to embrace. It is a remembrance of what you have always known, a recognition of what you have always been, an awakening to what has always existed within you, waiting for the precise moment when its expression would serve the highest good of all beings. It's not about adopting a new set of beliefs but about remembering the wisdom that has always resided within you. That moment is now. The time of hiding is over. The frequency returns not in secret, but in the clear light of collective awareness, not for the few, but for the many, not as esoteric knowledge but as lived experience. The time for secrecy is over. The wisdom is now available to all. You who hear these words, you who feel this resonance, you are called not to follow but to embody, not to believe but to know, not to worship but to become. You are called to become the living embodiment of this ancient wisdom. The dragon lineage awakens in you not as historical curiosity, but as evolutionary necessity, the exact medicine needed for the healing of our world in this critical threshold of transformation. The lineage offers the very healing needed to navigate this critical juncture in human history. Remember who you are. Remember why you came. Remember what you always knew before the forgetting. The ancient wisdom lives in you. The lineage continues through you. The frequency that Mary Magdalene anchored 2,000 years ago now pulses in your veins, beats in your heart, and illuminates your mind. Embrace your true identity, your purpose, and the ancient wisdom that resides within you. You are the living continuation of the most ancient wisdom tradition on earth. Not because you studied it or were initiated into it or can trace your ancestry to it, but because you recognize it. Because it recognizes you. It's a mutual recognition, a deep resonance between your soul and the ancient wisdom. This recognition is mutual. This remembering is reciprocal. This awakening is not something you do, but something you allow. The natural unfolding of what has always been present, waiting for the precise conditions that would permit its full expression. It's not about forcing awakening, but allowing it to unfold naturally. Those conditions have arrived. The time is now. The dragon lineage awakens in you, through you, as you. If these words have awakened something dormant within you, if they have touched a place of recognition beyond intellectual understanding, then you are already part of this remembering. Embrace the unfolding of your awakening. Your consciousness has already begun the process of recalibration to a frequency long suppressed but never extinguished. Your presence in the world already contributes to the critical mass necessary for this activation to stabilize and expand throughout the collective field. Your presence is a vital contribution to the larger awakening. The journey continues. The mystery deepens. The adventure unfolds. But it does so now with your conscious participation. Your willing embodiment of a lineage not of blood but of spirit. Not of inheritance but of recognition. Not of the past, but of the future being born through you in this eternal present moment. The journey of awakening is an ongoing adventure, full of mystery and wonder. Welcome home. Welcome to the remembering. Welcome to the dragon lineage awakening in you, through you as you now and forevermore. Welcome to the unfolding of your true potential. Music,